Are you Britain's most racist man?
I think Hitler's a complex guy. Can you, if you're watching, get my number off these guys? I would rather white girls were safe than we had a curry house on every street corner. I had cars spray painted, bricks thrown through my windows. I have been physically assaulted. I recommend Mein Kampf because I want to open people's minds and it creates conversation.
And how do you feel about this interview taking place above a curry house?
Interesting.
This man is Mark Collette. His ex has a swastika tattooed on her chest. He is banned from X, and you literally get a Facebook warning just for searching his name. He recommends Hitler's Mein Kampf and once called him a humble painter, and now leads what critics call a fascist, neo-Nazi hate group. And today we are meeting face to face to find out if he really is Britain's most racist man.
Nazis go! We don't want racist! Nazis go!
So I've seen people like Nico, like Gideon, doing crazy stuff like this in the US, but no one's done a proper sit down here in the UK. So I asked you guys, who is Britain's most racist man? The same name kept coming up time and time again, Mark Collette. He once told a journalist this.
In a very realistic way, when people say I am evil, you know what I mean? Yeah, I am.
He now runs a party called Patriotic Alternative. They run rallies for White Lives Matter or Christmas campaigns for whites only. And he's agreed to meet me, but only in a private, secure location. So we're heading there now. So, bit of drama. Mark will only meet us in an inside location that's secure. His fear is before he's been set up, where we'll be interviewing down a high street, someone will come and they'll spit on him. I've spent the last few days trying to source a location to host this interview. I've booked 2 different spaces, both of which have cancelled on us due to the nature of who he is. But the location we did have booked has just cancelled on us last minute as we're on our way to it now. So we've had to panic buy an Airbnb for the whole night to host this interview. So it suits the vibe, it's like a dingy flat. So today we are in West Yorkshire, which is ironically an ethnically diverse place, a high Muslim population.
Abdul, come closer.
How can you be racist in a town which has Wakey wines in it? We're literally filming him in Wakefield today. I'll be honest with you, I am scared about this one. He is associated with 10 plus convicted terrorists. One guy had pipe bombs literally in his house. But equally, Mark does seem quite fearful of us. He's very hesitant to meet. He's paranoid about where we meet. He's joked twice on the phone as long as we don't jump him. Before anyone says I'm platforming him, I'm not. This isn't about his manifesto, it's about his mindset. Undeniably, there's a rise in the far right. And I think it's better to talk to them and try and understand them instead of ignore them and let this grow in the darkness. It's like water, it becomes stagnant if you don't let it flow. We're both white, British, university educated, we're both dads, but his life and his beliefs are very different to mine. I want to try and understand how it's got to this point, what happened in his life that's made him this way, and many others like him, and see if there's any other way back. And the irony is, I've gone from working with the leader of a political party that's very liberal to interviewing this guy. So interested to see what we find out today, what we discover, while also not advocating for him very obviously. Let's find out why we're so different. So we're in the Airbnb. It's a little bit of a trap house, which I think fits the vibe of this. We're about to meet him, he's about 10 minutes away. What I didn't realise when I booked it is above a curry house, which he's not happy about. Genuine accident. See how it goes. For people who don't know you, to summarise your ideology accessibly, what is it?
I am an ethno-nationalist.
So here's the catch. Mark is very, very racist, but he's also very smart. You probably open this video thinking, that's not what I expected him to look like. Well, it's probably not what you expect him to sound like either. He sounds very intelligent and well-researched, but he is still very fucking racist. So please remember that as you watch this. I am not here to debate him. I will just ask simple questions and nod along. It's your job to spot the racism hidden in plain sight. Because in 2025, it's not just about saying slurs and shouting at boats. Sometimes it's whispering dangerous ideas in plain sight.
I want to ensure that white Britons remain a super majority.
Straight away, that's a bookable offence. But anyway, that's enough from me. It's all on you now. I'm going to let Mark speak openly because A, I said he'd get a fair interview, and B, from a psychological point of view, I find this fascinating.
Within Britain, that we're not reduced to a minority, because I believe that everybody has their place in the world, but it's not necessarily living next door to each other. So I think, England should be for the English, Scotland for the Scottish, Germany for the Germans, but equally I believe that Japan should be for the Japanese. Uganda should be for Ugandans. And those places should be homelands for their respective people, where those people can take their destiny into their own hands, decide which direction they want to move in.
Indians or Asian people, do they contribute to Britain today?
I think they are a net negative. These people have transformed cities, they've transformed towns, they've turned Britain into a place where the people who built Britain would no longer recognise it. And in many cases, parts of Britain are becoming no-go areas for white people, and there have been sizable scandals like the grooming scandal, where over 100,000 white girls have been affected by the Muslim community. And that was covered up by the establishment so that people could keep saying, well, isn't multiculturalism great? Well, it's not. I would rather white girls were safe than we had a curry house on every street corner.
Do you like other races? Do you like black people?
Subjectively, I have admiration for certain aspects of other races. I have a massive admiration for the Japanese. If you said to me, right, and what you're saying is say something nice about black people, well, I do believe there are tribes out there in parts of the world that still live within the natural circle of life, don't do any harm to the planet, don't destroy the ecosystem. I have absolute admiration for those people. I wouldn't want to change them for the earth. I wouldn't want to damage them or interfere with them in any way. And I believe they have a right to do what they want.
And what about black people in the UK? Like you mentioned abroad, tribes or whatever. Do you like black people here?
I've met black people who are very nice people. Do I think they should be hearing the numbers that they're hearing? Absolutely not. And do I think that the black community in the UK has done things which make them, people that maybe shouldn't be here? Absolutely. I mean, if you look at knife crime in London, if you look at things like the postcode wars, violent black gangs that operate, does that enrich Britain? Does that make Britain a better place? No. Should they be here then? No.
What do you think of Hitler?
I think Hitler's a complex guy. I think he pulled Germany out of a very bad time, and I think he's misrepresented now in the modern day. I think he's the only character in history who you can't evaluate from a fair or reasonable point of view because of powerful people in the media who use Hitler to demonise nationalism.
So, are you supportive of Hitler?
I think lots of things that Hitler did were good social policies. I'm not saying everything he did was wonderful or worked out perfectly, but I think all historical characters should be evaluated fairly. Yet you can't evaluate anybody who was a nationalist during the Second World War. Those people are painted as mustache-twirling bad guys who have no human side, who never did anything good, and can't be looked at from any perspective other than them being the bad guys.
Are you racist?
It depends how you define the term racist. I mean, originally the term racist would be defined by somebody who has a hatred for people of other racial groups. If you ask me that, the answer's no. The modern sort of interpretation of the term racist is, do you think there are differences between racial groups? Absolutely, I think there are differences between racial groups. Do I hate people of different racial groups? No. Do I wish harm on people of other racial groups? No. I'm not somebody who wants to see other races gone. I just don't want them all living on the same street in Britain. I think Kanye West I'd really like to meet him. I would really like to spend... Kanye, if you're watching, get my number off these guys. We need to hook up. I've never rapped before, but if I'm going to do a guest rap on anyone's track, it's going to be Kanye, isn't it?
What would it be about?
I don't know, whatever he wants it. Look, the guy's a billionaire. If he wants me to rap on a track, I'm rapping what he tells me. He's an interesting guy. I'd like to meet him. I think he's interesting. I don't think he should be censored. If what he's saying is so sort of crazy and nonsensical, why censor it?
And what do you think of his song, Hail Hitler?
Do you know what? I did listen to that. It was quite catchy, but rap isn't really my genre. I'm not the biggest rap fan. I think Keir Starmer is a disgusting worm, an establishment man, two-faced, anti-white, anti-British. He has let tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of white girls down. He let hundreds of victims down with the Savile case. He was in the CPS when that was covered up. He is the master of establishment cover-ups. It's sickening. He's one of the worst things to happen to Britain, a truly evil man.
So what do you think about the Holocaust specifically?
I think the Holocaust is something which is used for social means to silence people. And it's used by Jews, especially by Israeli Jews, as a shield to prevent criticism of Israel for the genocide, war crimes, and horrific acts that they commit on a daily basis against Palestinian people.
So, had you been around during that time, do you think you would have been supportive of it?
I think the Holocaust, basically, if we're going to say, are you supportive of the Holocaust? I think for a start, the Holocaust is something which you have to look at and say, why can't you question the Holocaust in any way? Why is it illegal to question the Holocaust? Surely the truth doesn't fear investigation. Why are there so many salacious tales around the Holocaust that have been debunked? And the fact of the matter is, every historical occurrence should be open to investigation, open to debate, and scholars and historians should be able to look into it and say, was this true? Can we hold these events up to modern day investigation? Do I worry about my safety? Well, there is always the possibility that somebody would like to harm me, but you just sort of get on with things and it becomes part of your daily routine. You can't be looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes.
Has anyone ever tried to harm you?
Yeah. I have, yeah. I've had things happen to me. I've had cars spray painted, bricks thrown through my windows. I have been physically assaulted. People have come looking for me with several large men with the intention of doing me physical harm, but you just sort of learn to live with those things.
You've recommended Mein Kampf to people before. What about that book do you like?
I recommend Mein Kampf because I want to open people's minds and it creates conversation. You can go into any university, you can read anti-white texts, you can read the Communist Manifesto, you can read books about how multiculturalism and immigration makes Britain fantastic, you can read books about how awful Mein Kampf is. So why shouldn't you read the other side of it? And if people think it's the most evil book ever, go and read it and find out what you really think. If the things said within it are so salacious and crazy and easily debunked, why demonise it and stop people from reading it?
How many times have you read it?
How many times? I never read a book. Well, actually, I do read books more than once, but only one book, and that was Fantastic Mr. Fox.
What do you think about interracial couples?
I think it's up to people who they date. Look, I'm not the dating police. I don't go around with a big stick tapping people on the shoulder if I think the coupling's not correct. However, I do think there is a very, very malicious campaign by the mainstream media to promote interracial dating. There is an agenda to try and push white women together into couplings with non-white males. That is something that the media pursues. Why does it do that? Because they want white people to be replaced. It's part of the anti-white agenda to reduce white people to a minority.
You've been fighting a cause all your life since you were 17?
Yeah, since I was 20, since I was at university.
Do you ever have any regrets?
I have two regrets in life. The first is that I didn't buy Bitcoin when it was like a penny a coin. And the second was that I sold a really rare game as a child for like £10. And now it goes for like £600 in that condition. They're my two major regrets in life.
So if you look back, you wouldn't have changed anything?
I bought lots of Bitcoin and I'd still have my original copy of Metroid on the NES. They're my two real regrets. I mean, you can't really have regrets. When you've got a family, to address your point seriously, when you've got a family, if you made any changes to your life, you wouldn't have the children you have, you wouldn't be in the place you're in. And I wouldn't wish my children away for the world. So, for better or for worse, I am where I am. I love my kids.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic's another one of those stupid slurs that people use to silence people. I'm not anti-Semitic, but I am somebody who points out the role that Jews, Israelis and Zionists play in British, American and Western politics. So every time somebody says, hey look, here's some Jewish fellas and they're demanding more money gets sent to Israel and they're trying to silence people who talk about the crimes that Israel commits, the first thing they cry is anti-Semitism, and the second thing they cry moments later is Holocaust, Holocaust. As I've said, they use terminology like anti-Semite to silence their opponents. You know, I've been debanked by HSBC, I've been debanked by Santander, I've been debanked by Co-op Bank. I mean, my wallet, the amount of cards I've got in there that simply don't work because they're dead cards, because the banks have kicked me out without reason just for being who I am and holding the beliefs that I do. It's scandalous. This is a huge problem in Britain. We are living in a country where the government and the media use their power to silence political dissidents. And they're not silencing people because those people are calling for violence or anything that's unconscionable. They're silencing people simply for having the wrong views.
To be honest with you, like, it's reading that you are associated with terrorists in the past, for instance.
But who? You know, who?
So there was a guy who had like a pipe bomb and explosives at his house.
You see, I don't know who this person is. When you say terrorism, terrorism is the use of violence or threat thereof to bring about social, political or religious change. But now young lads are downloading a book online and getting sent down for 4 or 5 years for having that book. Do I think that's terrorism? No. Is it illegal under current anti-terror laws? Yes.
What
and
book?
One guy got sent to prison. It was for having a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook. Now, you can buy the Anarchist Cookbook in W.H. Smith's or Waterstones or order it from Amazon. You could order a copy now. But he was jailed for having it because they deemed it to be a threat because of his political beliefs. And that to me is really unfair. So if you can buy a book, if Amazon can sell the book and somebody's being sent to jail for owning the book, why aren't Amazon being investigated and at least fined for selling that book?
As I say, like, I was nervous to meet you today because of those associations that you might have with.
Well, I don't have
terror.
associations, and nor do I endorse terrorism. I endorse peaceful action. The 3 peaceful actions we endorse are community, advocacy, and activism.
So let's play devil's advocate.
Completely non-violent.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate. You are, you know, a well-educated, articulate guy who has these views, and you are, you know, displaying them in peaceful ways.
Yeah.
There are people within the party who follow you, for instance, who take different approaches. How do you deal with those people who they want the same thing as you, but they're taking the wrong ways about it?
Well, we have a code of conduct that deals with that. If you're coming to any of our events or being involved with us in any way, you're asked to read a code of conduct and consent to it beforehand. And that code of conduct deals with issues like that we don't want anyone coming who are using racial slurs, we don't want anyone coming who's advocating for violence, we don't want people coming who are behaving in a manner that does not represent our organisation correctly. And anyone can be concerned about any of those issues and then do something that they shouldn't do in the name of a group or an issue. But I don't think it's right to define that group or issue by one person's stupid behaviour.
Do you believe in white supremacy?
I don't believe in white supremacy. I believe everyone's different, and I believe different races and different ethnic groups express themselves in a different manner. Some will be better at some things, some will be better at other things. And this is an interesting point. So if you were to speak to a liberal and you asked a liberal, said, do you think black people are better at basketball and better at track sports? They'd be clapping, they'd be cheering. Of course they'd be saying, they'd be very proud to say that. But if you say, well, do you think white people are better at sort of civilizational advances and, you know, advances in the fields of, you know, engineering and biology and physics, all of a sudden they'd be falling over themselves to tell you why that isn't the case. You know, you can make a film called White Men Can't Jump because black people seem overwhelmingly better at basketball than other races. If that can be celebrated, why can't what white people are good at be celebrated?
So would you like to see Britain return to 100% white?
We don't say 100% white. We want Britain to be a supermajority. Look, I'm not looking for pie-in-the-sky policies where, you know, you're going around and DNA testing people and using blood samples to work out where they came from. But what we are saying is white Britain should be a supermajority in their own country, sort of 95%. We know that not everyone's going to go back. We know there's always going to be people coming here for different reasons. And we are not completely opposed to every single migrant. But the fact is, immigration as it is, which has reduced white Britons to 70% of the population, which is what we currently are, and by 2050, we're going to be a minority. That is completely unacceptable and must be reversed.
I spoke to Mark about his beliefs. Now it's time to get personal. What made him this way, and how do his parents and kids fit in?
What if your kids grew up and they thought they disagreed with you, for instance?
If they disagree with me, it's up to them. I don't intend to be talking politics with my kids. If they want to ask their dad what he does, I'll be honest with them. But what my kids choose to do is down to my children. They one day will have their own lives and they'll be able to lead it in the way they want. You know, being a dad is not about imposing your will on your children. It's about guiding them, helping them, and always being there for them when they need it.
Is there a moment in your life that you think made you think the things you do?
I think I always had an affinity for my own people. I always wanted to be around my own people. And when I grew up, the nearest large city to me was Leicester, which is the city in Britain which was the first city to become a place where white Britons were a minority group. And I think I viewed that as a child, and I drew conclusions, and it was something I was naturally drawn to. I always felt that something was wrong with the way that white Britons were treated by the government. I felt the restrictions on our freedom of speech were wrong. I felt that mass immigration was out of control. And over my life, I feel that everything that I've always pushed for and espoused has been very much vindicated.
Your parents, were they supportive of this?
Yeah. My mum's passed away now, but she was somebody who stood for election for the BNP. She was a great friend to me. I miss her a lot. She was always there when I needed her. My dad, still get on with him very well. He was involved in the BNP. We always used to talk about politics around the kitchen table. I've always had a good relationship with them. There's never been a period where, an extended period where I didn't talk to my parents or anything like that. I think, when my mum was alive, I used to speak to her almost every day.
Do you think you'll be remembered as a hero or a warning?
Do I think I'll be remembered? Probably not. Probably won't even be remembered. I mean, very few people are remembered, are they? Do most people even know who their own MP is? Probably not. If I'm remembered fondly by my loved ones and those who believed in me, and by my kids and my grandkids, I'll be happy and I'll be content. Doing the right thing, which is what I'm doing. I firmly believe that. I'm happy doing that, and if people one day look back and say, "Hey, this guy was talking about this before anyone else did," that would be nice, I suppose.
And then final question, are you Britain's most racist man?
It depends who you ask. I would probably say that that crown goes to Barry Stanton.
Wow, just trying to digest everything, really. First off, Mark is a muppet, right? Let's agree on that. I do not care about your own political opinion. I am not a politics guy in the slightest. I understand a lot of the people in the UK are pissed off about stuff like the migrant crisis, but there's such a big gulf between things like that and flirting with neo-Nazi ideas. So if any of the more extreme stuff in the video today resonated with you in the slightest, then please go to somewhere like exithate.com and seek support. Secondly, do your own research. That is the most important thing. We spoke about a load of stuff today. Some of it might have been true, some of it might have not been true. I think we definitely got a polished, more PR-friendly version of Mark. Go see if his history matches his words. Do your own research. Thirdly, if you're on the left of things, you're going to be thinking stuff like, oh, you shouldn't be platforming people like this, or you're too soft. If you're on the right, you're going to be saying, oh, he was right about this, he was right about that. Don't take the piss. I don't care. Today was more about getting an insight into the mindset of a far-right fascist leader, and I think it was a fair attempt at doing that. If you think the same, please drop a comment below. I'm going to be fighting for my life in that comment section. The YouTube algorithm is almost definitely going to show it to one group exclusively. If you found this interesting and you want more content, getting into the minds of extreme people, then please drop a comment below. The thing that really blew my mind today was that Mark is an eloquent, well-educated guy who was very much loved when he was a kid. He's a loving dad, and he still holds these views. These views now in the UK, this is the face of them. Like, they are, it could be your dad, it could be your uncle, it could be someone standing behind you in the queue at the co-op. It's no longer the good old days of lobbing abuse at someone from across the road at the pub. They're online communities that anyone can fall into. I personally found Mark's views today abhorrent, and he's pushed me further away from his cause than I even was at the beginning of it. But I'm grateful for him for sharing and giving us his time to try and understand just a little bit better. Freedom of speech in the UK is a weird one, isn't it? It's super messy. Keen to hear your thoughts. Should Mark be being silenced? Should he be being deplatformed and debanked? Or should we be engaging in these discussions with him still? Finally, this channel is all about extreme people and extreme places. The next upload will be on swingers. So if you have any questions for any non-monogamists, then please drop a comment below and I'll make sure I ask them for you. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next adventure.